On the news tonight, state government advises communities having land disputes to maintain peace. INEC chairman reads riot act to electoral officers ahead of Edo and Ondo governorship election. Ahead June 11 ultimatum, fears of fresh strike looms as Labour insists on 250,000 naira minimum wage. Abroad, Australia's Prime Minister condemns vandalism of US consulate in Sydney over war in Gaza. Good evening, and here's the Delta Television main news. I am Henry Usiayu. The state government has advised communities having land disputes to maintain peace, as it would not tolerate any act capable of breaching the peace and security in the states. The special advisor to the state governor on peace building and conflict resolution, Chief Edwin Uzo, stated this when he held a meeting with community leaders from Uboba and Obokba community in Anyacha North local government area, Bekobo and Ofori-Gbala community in Uele South and Brutu local government area, coupled with Okwo-Wisil community in Okbe local government area. Henry Unagwa reports.
Chief Uzo said the meeting was to discuss with communities having crises and to ensure peace was restored in the various communities. He noted that petitions from Uboba and Obompa communities bordering on land disputes and the kingship crisis had lingered, saying the state governor had directed the peace-building committee to hear from the leaders from the two communities and ensure peace was restored. The special advisor stated that the committee had looked into the documents presented to them by both communities and had resolved to visit the land in dispute and advised them to go home and live in peace.
We've come to agree that there is need for we to visit a site that is bringing the dispute. It boils down on land dispute. We've advised them to go home and live in peace.
Similarly, the peace-building committee chairman, Chief Edwin Uzo, appealed with Bekobo and the Ofori-Gbala communities to desist from any act that would breach the peace and hinder development of the community. Chief Uzo advised Bekobo community, who claimed ownership of the land, to maintain peace as the communities had lived peacefully for decades, and also advised Ofori-Gbala community to desist from any act that would trigger violence between both parties.
We're able to talk to them, to pipe low, and to drop that claim of ownership of land. Because issues that have existed for over 150 years, it's not today that the younger ones will come up now and begin to return the place. They should go and live in peace with their neighbors.
In a related development, the special advisor to the governor on peace building and conflict resolution, Chief Edwin Uzo, and his team also hosted members of Okwo-Wisi community in Okbe local government area over breach of contract and the land boundary dispute. The special advisor enjoined the complainants to go home and put their complaints in writing, not without maintaining peace, as that was the wish of the state governor, Sheriff Oborowori. The special advisor enjoined the heads of personnel management from the communities to go home and ensure peace in their communities.
My advice to the state is that we should continue to live in peace. Anything that will trigger trouble, we should not encourage it. The state just celebrated the first year anniversary of the present government, who has done very well, who believe in peace, because his more agenda, enhanced peace and security, is being anchored there.
At the end of the meeting, the parties in dispute expressed satisfaction with the resolution from the state government and pledged to maintain peace. Henry Onogwa reporting.
The state governor, Honorable Sheriff Oborowori, in line with his focus and determination to fulfill the meaningful development components of the MORE agenda, especially in the delivery of life-impacting infrastructural projects, we tomorrow commissioned the 4.4-kilometer Phase 1 stretch of the Emevo-Orogun Road in Isoko North local government area. According to a statement by the Commissioner for Information, Dr. Ifeanyi Oswoza, affirms Governor Oborowori's commitment to embrace, complete, and deliver major outstanding projects inherited from his predecessor to the benefit of Deltans. Dr. Oswaza noted that the admirable leadership thrust has not only established a truism that government was a continuum, but has equally defined him as a shining star, a model of how to manage succession politics in a democracy, and firmly establish himself as a leader and administrator who will not be distracted in his quest to deliver on the more agenda to Deltas. The Emevo-Orogun Road is expected to provide easier access to essential services, promote commerce and trade, enhance connectivity between the community and its neighbors, and ensure the overall mobility of residents and commuters in the area. Governor Sheriff Oborevwori has already declared during his inspection of the road that his administration's commitment to effective project management and infrastructure development in the fulfillment of prioritizing the provision of infrastructure development across the 3 senatorial zones in the state without bias for the greater good of all Deltans. The Phase 1 of the Emevo-Orogun Road, which was constructed and delivered by an indigenous contractor, also underscored the opportunities for all components of the more agenda, would be commissioned 1 p.m. The State House of Assembly Joint Committee on Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Environment and Oil and Gas has held a public hearing on a bill to amend the Delta State Structures for Signage and Advertisement Agency Law 2015. Chairman of the House Committee on Local Government Affairs and Chieftaincy, Honorable Dafe Chukwudi, stressed that the bill, when amended, will enable the local government councils work in synergy with the state government through the agency, and therefore called for positive inputs from stakeholders to make the exercise a smooth one. On his part, Honorable Oboro Preyo highlighted the 3 sections being sorted for in the amendment bill to include sections 3, 5, and 17 of the principal law. The lawmakers therefore called for inputs from stakeholders present at the public hearing exercise, which according to them will be further scrutinized by the joint committee. President of the College of Heads of Personnel Local Government Councils, Mr. Austin Emaduku, and other stakeholders in their submissions urged the committee to consider the position of the local government councils in coming up with a final amendment bill. The amendment bill on the Delta State Structures and Advertisement Agency Law 2015 was referred to a joint committee on local government affairs and chieftaincy, environment and oil and gas for further legislative consideration. The federal government has unveiled a series of events to mark this year's Democracy Day. Details of the celebration was shared in a notice issued by Mr. Abdul Hakim Adeoye on behalf of the Director of Information and Public Relations in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The report says that the celebration will commence tomorrow, June 11, with a symposium at the State House Conference Center, Presidential Villa, Abuja, starting at 9 a.m. This will be followed by a youth conference at Ladi Kwali Hall, Abuja Continental Hotel, Abuja at 6 p.m. On Wednesday, June 12th, the events will feature a grand parade at Eagle Square, Abuja, beginning at 8 a.m. and the activities will be concluded with a dinner at the State House Banquet Hall, Presidential Villa, Abuja at 6 p.m. The notice also indicated that only accredited villa correspondents will be granted access to cover the events held at the Presidential Villa. The organized labor has rejected the 62,000 naira offer by the federal government. The labor union says it stands by its demand for a minimum wage of 250,000 naira. The Assistant General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Comrade Chris Onyeka, gave the update on a television program today in Lagos. He said Labour will not accept any starvation wage below 250,000 naira, stressing that the current minimum wage of 30,000 naira can no longer cater to the well-being of an average Nigerian worker, citing the high cost of living and the need for a living wage. Comrade Onyeka stressed that the one-week grace period given to the federal government to meet Labour's demand expires tomorrow, June 11. He noted that if the federal government failed to act, Labour will meet to decide on the resumption of the nationwide industrial action. It would be recalled that Labour declared an indefinite industrial action on June 3rd. However, the strike was relaxed for a week after the federal government promised to consider a wage above 60,000 naira. The two sides failed to reach an agreement on Friday, June 7, with Labour reducing its demand to 250,000 naira and the government offering 62,000 naira. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, today warned that the Commission would not tolerate unethical practices from electoral officers, saying those engaged in such acts will be made to face the full weight of the law. He spoke through the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Electoral Institute, Professor Abdullahi Abdul Zuru, at the annual lecture organized by the Electoral Institute, TEI, with the theme, Achieving Professionalism Among Election Personnel Through Effective Training in Preparation for Edo and Ondo Off-Cycle Governorship Elections. According to him, there is a need for a high sense of professionalism among election personnel, engendered by effective training due to the crucial role election personnel play in upholding the integrity of the democratic processes cannot be overstressed. He stressed that how the electoral officers discharge their duties and responsibilities affects the degree of confidence voters will have in the electoral process. Edo State government has vowed to make the state uncomfortable for cultists and other criminal elements, assuring that it will spare no effort at flushing them out of the state. The state government stated this while reading the riot acts to the cultists and criminals terrorizing the residents, including those attacked military men in the state. The Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Mr. Chris Osa Nehikare, gave the assurance during a visit to wounded soldiers and a police officer shot by suspected cultists in the Okumu Ijo community in Ovia Southwest local government area of the state. He disclosed that efforts are in top gear to clear the state of all undesirable elements and vowed that criminals operating under the guise of Okayeles, youth leaders in the various communities across the state would not be spared either. Mr. Naikare pledged the Edo State government support to foot the bills of the wounded military officers receiving treatment at the military base hospital, Benin City, stressing that the attack on soldiers by civilians in the Okumu community was not unconnected with the nefarious activities of cultists. Mr. Naikaire, who said that the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, has frowned at the attack on military personnel and disclosed that a task force led by the Director of State Security Service, DSS, have been set up by the state government to combat cult groups in the state. Troop of the 63rd Brigade Nigeria Army deployed for internal security operations on Saturday successfully thwarted a kidnap attempt along the busy Ughelli-Patani road. A statement by the Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, 63rd Brigade Asaba, Major Emmanuel Onoja, said the troop responded to a distress call which resulted in the rescue of the passengers who had been kidnapped in a commercial bus. According to him, the gallant troops responded to a distress call and immediately mobilized to the scene of the incident, where they engaged the kidnappers in a fierce battle and were overpowered, which compelled them to abandon their captives and scampered into the forest. All the abductees were rescued unarmed and are in safe custody, where they are receiving necessary care and support. The statement affirmed that the troops are on the trail of the fleeing kidnappers and urged the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities to security agencies and pledged its untiring efforts to ensure peace and security in the state. Hundreds of youths today took to the streets of Akure to protest last week's raid of several hotels and event centers in the state capital by operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The EFCC operatives had conducted a raid on Saturday at Signature and Abba clubs in the Alagbaka area of Akure, Ondo State, where they arrested 127 suspected internet fraudsters during a Yahoo party. Carrying placards with various inscriptions, the angry youth gathered at the Alagbaka roundabout in Akure and marched through the major streets of the state capital to express their displeasure over the raid. Neither the Ondo State Police Command nor the EFCC has reacted to the massive protest by the irate youths. Also, the state government has not spoken on the issue, even as tension has heightened in the state over the developments. You're still watching the Delta Television main news. Still to come, Australia's Prime Minister condemns vandalism of US consulate in Sydney over war in Gaza. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The global scene is next as we join our World News Desk.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken blamed Hamas today for holding up a ceasefire in Gaza as the top U.S. diplomat conducted a Middle East peace mission to deliver President Joe Biden's latest proposed plan to end the Gaza war. Speaking after meeting Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Cairo, Mr. Blinken said Hamas was the only side that had yet to agree to President Biden's proposal, which Washington says already had Israel's backing before Mr. Biden announced it on May 31.
We strongly support Israel in its effort to ensure that what happened on October 7th never happens again. But at the same time, we are determined to do everything we can to bring an end to the terrible human suffering that we're seeing every single day in Gaza among children, women, men who've been caught in a terrible crossfire of Hamas's making. And so maximizing protection of civilians, maximizing the support that gets to them, this is very much our focus. Now, the quickest way to bring this to an end is to get to a ceasefire and the release of hostages.
Washington said its proposal envisions a ceasefire in stages, ultimately leading to a permanent end to the war. But Israel still says it will agree only to temporary pauses until Hamas is defeated, while Hamas says it will not accept a truce without guarantees that the war will end. Ahead of Mr. Blinken's trip, Israel and Hamas both doubled down on hardline positions that have scuppered all previous attempts to end the fighting, while Israel has pressed on with assaults in central and southern Gaza, among the bloodiest of the war. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has urged activists on both sides of the Israel-Palestinian debate to tone down the heat after the U.S. consulate in Sydney was vandalized today. Mr. Albanese urged people to have respectful political debate and discourse. He said the consulate was closed today because of a public holiday in New South Wales state, but will reopen tomorrow, adding that they can make their point in the country without resorting to violence or malicious behavior. CCTV footage showed a person wearing a dark hoodie using a small sledgehammer to smash 9 holes in the reinforced glass windows of the building in North Sydney this morning. 2 inverted red triangles, seen by many as a symbol of Palestinian resistance, were also painted on the front of the building. The New South Wales Premier Chris Minns said an overwhelming majority of Australians did not approve of such vandalism. Doctors at one of the last functioning hospitals in the besieged Sudanese city of El Fasher has said they have been forced to close down the facility after it was attacked. The hospital has been supported by the medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières (MSF), which had described it as the only one left in the El Fasher, where injured civilians could receive treatment. For several days, there had been reports of shells hitting the city's South Hospital, causing injuries and deaths. According to the report, fighters from the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) have entered the facility. UN agencies said the fighting has sparked the world's largest displacement crisis and that millions are facing a hunger catastrophe as a result.
And back from the global scene. And let's go straight to the business. The currency value in circulation has risen to 3.97 trillion naira at the end of May, representing an all-time high and a 1.07% increase over the previous month. The data released on the Central Bank of Nigeria website indicated that the currency in circulation has been rising consistently over the months from 3.92 trillion naira in April to 3.86 trillion naira in March. The currency in circulation has been increasing month on month despite the CBN monetary policy tightening. The currency in circulation has been increasing month on month despite the CBN monetary policy tightening, which has seen the benchmark interest rate set at 26.65%. Currency in circulation represents banknotes and coins that have been produced and issued for use in the economy. According to CBN, currency in circulation at 3.87 trillion naira in March represented about a 4.76% month-on-month increase from 3.69 trillion naira in February 2024. Meanwhile, currency outside banks also increased progressively during the first quarter, growing from 3.28 trillion naira in January to 3.41 trillion naira and 3.63 trillion naira in February and March. The data revealed that over 90% of currency in circulation is held outside of the banking system, indicating Nigerians are holding more cash. Let's join our business news desk for more happenings in the business sector.
The currency's value in circulation has risen to 3.97 trillion naira at the end of May, representing an all-time high and a 1.07% increase over the previous month. The data released on the Central Bank of Nigeria website indicated that the currency in circulation has been rising consistently over the month from 3.92 trillion naira in April to 3.86 trillion naira in March. The currency in circulation has been increasing month on month despite the Central Bank of Nigeria monetary policy tightening, which has seen the benchmark interest rate set at 26.65%. Currencies in circulation represent banknotes and coins that have been produced and issued for use in the economy. According to CBN, currency in circulation at 3.87 trillion naira in March represented about a 4.76% month-on-month increase from 3.69 trillion in February 2024. Meanwhile, currency outside banks also increased progressively during the first quarter, growing from 3.28 trillion naira in January to 3.41 trillion naira and 3.63 trillion naira in February and March, respectively. The data revealed that over 90% of currency in circulation is held outside the banking system, indicating Nigerians are holding more cash. Nigeria imported 117.4 billion naira worth of motorcycles in first quarter of the year 2024, which was an increase of 204% from 38.6 billion naira in the same period of the previous year. The increase was driven by naira depreciation as India emerged as Nigeria's top supplier, accounting for 63% of the imports. Despite the naira depreciation, which increased the cost of imports. The demand for motorcycles remained high due to their utility in both regular business and illicit activities. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics reveal Nigeria recorded 117.4 billion naira as import costs for motorcycles in the first quarter of 2024. The figure represents a 204% increase from the 38.6 billion naira recorded in the same period in 2023, reflecting the depreciation of the naira. The data is contained in the latest foreign trade statistics reported of the National Bureau of Statistics.
Back from the business sector, straight away to the sports. The executive chairman of Edo State Sports Commission, Honorable Yusuf Ali, and host of the National Olympic Trials, has declared his readiness to welcome athletes and others attending the championships in Benin City. Honorable Ali says the trials, which holds on June 16 to 18, are inside the main bowl of the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, promises to throw up the best of Nigeria's athletes based at home and abroad for the Olympic Games in Paris in July. Meanwhile, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN, has planned to also give Nigeria's athletes based abroad a rousing welcome to Benin venue of the Olympic Trials. On the impending Olympic Trials, the AFN boss, Chief Todobok Okowa, said athletes will be picked in accordance to their performance at the trials, as it would largely determine their participation for the Olympics. And to end the news, our thought for the day. Leadership is not about being the best. Leadership is about making everyone else better. And before we go, a look at the highlights. The state government has advised communities having land dispute to maintain peace, as it will not tolerate any act capable of breaching the peace and security in the state. The special advisor to the state governor on peace building and conflict resolution, Chief Edwin Uzo, stated this when he held a meeting with community leaders from Ugboba and Obokba community in Nanyosha North local government area, Bekobo and Ogori Bala community in Ele South and Brutu local government area, coupled with Okowisi community in Okbe local government area. And we also told you that the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, today warned that the commission would not tolerate unethical practices from electoral officers, saying those engaged in such acts will be made to face the full weight of the law. And also, the organized labor has rejected the 62,000 naira offer by the federal government. The labor union says it stands by its demand for a minimum wage of 250,000 naira. And that ends the Delta Television main news. I am Henry Usiayu. Many thanks for watching.